So Ted, you're in an unusual business that most people don't know about, and I'm sure many people will believe the types of returns your student investors generate. Can you tell my audience a little bit about what your business is?
Okay, well, for newcomers, this is a business that's been around for 200 years, and everybody's involved in it, whether they want it to be or not. But it's basically the property tax business, and tax sounds like an awful thing, but we've been able to turn that into making money, and the counties did that 200 years ago. So I'm in a business where I teach people how to buy tax lien certificates. That takes place in about half of the counties in the United States, and then the other half of the counties, they sell tax defaulted property. So there's two ways to make money in the business. One, people that are senior citizens, your grandmother, your grandfather, they love it. They love tax lien certificates because it's so conservative. So half of the states sell those tax lien certificates, and then the other half of the states sell what we call tax defaulted property. So it's a huge business. I mean, there's well over 2 million tax defaulted properties every year. And I've been doing that for about 30 years now and teaching people to do it. So it's a way to make money in a conservative way. A lot of people have an IRA. They like to use that. It just depends upon the person. Some people like to do it for profit because we can buy properties for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. I know that sounds unbelievable, but we'll talk about that as we go along over these next few sessions that we'll have together. And I'll tell you, and I'll actually show you, I'll demonstrate how the whole thing works.
Well, can you explain to me how tax lien certificates work?
Well, here's what happens. If you have a home in Florida and you didn't pay the tax on it, for example, you have a facility in Florida, you didn't pay the tax, what would happen is the local government would send a notice of default. Simple piece of paper says you're in default, you have to pay your tax. All right, so if you didn't pay the tax, then they would issue a tax lien certificate. That means you didn't pay it, but the tax lien certificate is published on the county website. It's also published in the newspaper. I can go pay your tax. So if I go pay the tax, then when it comes time for you to come in and pay the tax, if you haven't paid it, if you leave it in default all the time, you'll lose the property. But most people will come in and pay the tax. And when they do, tax lien certificates, depending upon the state, they pay outrageous interest rates. Florida pays 18%, Iowa pays 24%, a place like Arizona pays 16%. You're getting the idea. So tax certificates are a very profitable investment for the person that wants to have a very conservative investment. The investor makes out because they invest with the county and they get money back from the county. So it's a good investment, a very good investment.
Can you tell me a little bit about the tax defaulted property?
It's the other side of the business. So if you could see a picture of the whole United States now, every county in the United States, there's over 3,000 counties. Every county in the United States is mandated that the property owners will pay property tax. All right. So they've all mandated that. So let's say you're in California right now. What would happen if you hadn't paid your tax? The local government at that point in time can actually seize your property. In other words, take your property away, confiscate it, and then they resell it at auction. Now, when they resell it, the counties don't want the property. They just don't want the property. So they're going to sell that property at very close to back taxes. Well, back taxes are usually only a few percent of the value. So they're going to start the bidding in. Now, it doesn't mean it'll end there, but it'll start there. So you can buy properties for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. We'll demonstrate that in a few minutes. You'll get to see properties that are being purchased for 20 and 30 cents on the dollar. And when they come to the investor, you and I, when we buy it, they have no mortgage and no deed of trust lien on them because the county wipes that out. So there's two investments to be involved in. One, people can buy tax lien certificates, and the other, they can buy tax defaulted property.
Yeah, so so it's a virtual world. I mean, can we do this online, or do we have to be in person to do this?
Well, when I started, I got a lot of gray hair, as you can tell. So I've been around. It's white hair now, but when I started, we had to trek all the way over to county records to get a list of the tax liens and deeds. Now, just about everything is online. Almost every county will auction tax liens or tax deeds online. So you could sit, and we teach you. We have classes on it. We have a class every day. Every single day, we have 5 facilitators who work here, and they give classes every day, and you can just tap it in, whatever county it is. So you happen to be in Colorado, so you're in close to Boulder and those places. You could just tap whatever county that is, and you could find out when their tax auction is. You could find out how many properties they had. And in Colorado, they sell tax lien certificates, so you can find out when they're going to sell those certificates, and you can find out how much they're willing to pay. Colorado's doesn't pay a lot of money, incidentally. Most states pay a lot more than Colorado. Just a point of interest.
So, so what I'm hearing is that you start out with gray hair and then it moves to white hair.
Yeah, well, actually, that's exactly what happens. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. If you just had gray, it would be okay. For years, I actually had some gray hair when I was in high school. I mean, I know what it is. It's not so much old age. It means your body doesn't have a lot of copper in it, and that's how it makes your hair change. But that was my excuse in high school, right? Well, then when I got a little older, I didn't want to look old, right? Everybody in school wants to look old, but as soon as you get out of school, I don't want to look old anymore. So I dyed my hair for a long time till I was 60 years old. I dyed my hair. Now 60 years old is a little while back for me. Anyway, so you're right.
And then at what time were you just like, just let it go white? I'm just
That's
done.
what I did. I finally just said, forget it. I'm not going to go through that anymore. And it feels like it got wire. Your ladies put up with a lot with your hair. I mean, I thought, oh my God, I feel like I got wire up here. My hair's nice and soft. You can tell just touching it. But anyway, so
okay, all right. So we'll get back on the subject. So so tell me, so what I hear that you're explaining is that the government's taking someone's house away. Is that what's happening?
Well, actually, the tax lien certificate, you stay in the house. Whoever the property owner is, they stay right in the property. They don't kick them out. The person, let's say that a tax lien certificate took place in Florida. By the way, 1 million property owners did not pay their taxes in Florida last year. So that meant there was 1 million tax lien certificates available. If I show you the list, well, here, I'll show you a list right now. Okay, so your way around the country quite well. This is the tax lien list for Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow,
there's no pictures in this newspaper. It's just a list. There's over 30,000 just in Jacksonville. That's Duval County. Is
that a typical number?
That's low, actually, because the market's been so
low.
Good.
Okay, all right. So that's even low. Okay.
If I was holding up, I don't know if I have it over here on my other desk. If I held up Miami, it'd be twice this much.
Whoa, that's crazy.
There'd be 60,000 tax certificates just in Miami-Dade, just that one county. So Florida-wide is all right. And in Georgia, you spent some time in Georgia. Georgia has 159 counties. Yeah. They have an auction every month in Georgia. Every single month. There's always some. In Georgia, that's my favorite state. You didn't know that, but my favorite state, because Georgia pays you 20% on a certificate. If you have a certificate on your house and I buy the certificate, okay, and then the next day you come in and pay, you have to give me whatever I paid plus 20%. The minimum return in Georgia is 20%. Yeah. People that should flock there and buy all the certificates they want. Minimum is 20%. That's a nice return on your money.
Yeah, I heard it was 20% too. That's a good. I mean, you can't get that anywhere else right now.
Yeah, in the second year, it's 30%, and the year after, it's 40%. The year after, it's 50%.
Are you serious? Wow, I didn't know that.
I have no reason to tell you otherwise. Seriously, second year. So if someone goes into default, one of my clients, let's think of this as a clock, okay, or a calendar. So this is day one, and this is day 365. So any day they come in, they have to pay you back all what you paid and 20%. So if you're getting close to this day 365, at that date and time, you can foreclose on the property if you own the certificate. Okay, I tell my clients, don't foreclose. Let it go over into the next day, 366, because now they have to pay you 30%.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's good.
Can you imagine getting your money back in 30? Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's a good return right there. As I said, you can't find that nowadays.
No. So other states like Illinois pays up to 36% on a tax certificate. Iowa pays 24% on a tax certificate. The easiest one of all is Texas. Texas is a huge state, 254 counties. In Texas, you raise your hand, you buy the certificate. The certificate's like this. I'll show you one. This is a certificate. This is a certificate. Just like that. You get the certificate, you take it home, you just put it on your desk, then you go sit on your rusty dusty. You don't have to do any work. You just sit. All right. If they come in the next day and pay you, they have to give you back all your money plus 25%. And that can only go 180 days. So think it's day one you bought today. 180 days later, if they haven't, If they haven't paid you, they give you a deed absolute. The county gives you the deed. You don't even have to do the foreclosure. County gives you a deed. Is that amazing?
Yeah. So also all this sounds awesome, but like, is it complicated to get started?
Well, how do we do so far? Probably not too complicated. It's like anything, once you understand it a little bit, it's not complicated. It was invented 200 years ago when the people couldn't read and write. They couldn't read and write, but some of them couldn't pay their tax, so they had to do something about getting the property back on the tax roll because the government needs money. The property tax money pays for the school teachers, pays for the schools, the fire department, pays for the police department, pays money for the hospital. They have to have that money to keep the county going. Otherwise, the county would just go bankrupt. That's the reason. That's the reason why it's such a high paying certificate. All the certificates are high paying because the county they want to slap your hand and say, look, you paid late. And so you're going to have to pay a high rate. Florida pays 18%. It's amazing. Can you imagine 1 million certificates being available? Hard to believe.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy number.
Yeah.
So can you get started with, like a little bit of money, or do you need a lot of money to do this?
Well, it's like everything in life. If you got a lot of money, it makes life a lot simpler, but you can buy tax certificates on little strips of land, like where the roads went through and they left the land out there, and those things go to tax auction. You can buy $50, $100, but keep in mind, if you bought $100 tax certificate, what are you going to get back? If you got a 10% return on it, you're going to get $110 back. So you've got to make some kind of investment. But the average house only has taxes on it of $2,000 to $4,000 a year, 2 to 4, especially in the South. Most of the South, 2 to 4,000 is pretty average for taxes. Now, there's going to be places like California and in New York. Okay, now they don't sell tax certificates there; they confiscate the property. So when I want to buy tax defaulted property, I want to be in a nice area around Atlanta where they get big houses because I want to end up with the property. All right, I want to be outside New York City, or I want to buy in Los Angeles. But we have people buying there for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar once they learn how to do it. It's amazing. I'll show you that, and I'll show you some pictures of it actually. So you'd be pretty amazed.
So, like everybody that's listening now that's listening, can they make, like, you typically, is it like 25,000, 30,000? How, what's the typical amount that people are making?
Well, what we do is we teach the people, look, if you're going to make $5,000 and $10,000, it's probably not worth your while because you're going to do a lot of work of buying and selling a real estate properties. So that's not enough money. So we teach them and show them how to buy the property so that they're going to buy it at the right price and then be able to sell it at the right price. And if they're building wealth rather than just want income, if they're building wealth, then we'll teach them how to do what you and I call an installment sale or a contract of sale so that they get payments coming in. So our average person is trying to get 25 to 50,000 on one deal. That's what we're trying to do. 25 to 50,000. Now, there's times, and I'll give you some examples. When we do the next lesson, I'll show you a couple actually. They just bought a house for $8,000, did a little fix up on it, but they ended up making just a little under $39,000 on that property after they got their money back. That's how much they got. So there's generous returns because a lot of properties go for auction. Some of these states, it's amazing how many properties are for auction, and a lot of people don't know about these sales. Now, they certainly know about them in Atlanta, Georgia. They know about them in Houston. They know about them in LA. But all these little communities, a lot of people don't even know that the auction's taking place. It's rare to see a big crowd at one of those auctions. They're always a small bunch.
Yeah. That's what I heard is like, you don't want to go to the bigger cities, just go out to like the secondary or tertiary markets. Look there. Yeah,
definitely.
So, so if I'm understanding correctly, if a property owner doesn't pay their tax lien certificate, then you get the property.
Yes, that's an oversimplification, but yes, that's exactly what happens. And you don't invest with that individual. When you're buying a tax certificate, you're investing directly with that local county. So your money is safe and secure with the county. It's protected by the property tax code. All right. Now, when the person doesn't pay, then you're going to have the ability to foreclose and take that property just by having an attorney go and do the foreclosure for you, or you can have the person just deed the property to you. It's going to be usually people just go through the foreclosure, but you're going to end up with the property. And in many counties, for example, every state and every county is going to have a different rule. So you're in Colorado now, so they're going to have 14 or 20 counties in Colorado. What they're going to do, each one of those counties can have their own rules. Each state can have their own rules. So there's a little bit of learning that has to be, like in South Carolina, you raise your hand like this, you pay someone's taxes. If they don't come in and pay, the county just sends you a deed to the property. It's that easy. So each state's going to be just a little bit different. So I don't want to just flat say it's going to be easy. You're going to have to learn the process, and it's all laid out perfectly in the rules for the auction. Every auction will have rules, and it's easy. You can look them up online. They don't try to hide anything. If anything, they detail too much information. They don't try to hide it. They just, because they want rid of the property. The county needs money. Every county in America needs money because they've got police, fire, all those things to pay. The school teachers have to get paid. Otherwise, you have to close the schools. So they need to collect that money. So they'll discount the property. They'll discount 60, 70, 80% to get the property back in the market and on the tax roll. See, if it's on a defaulted list, does them no good. They're not making any money on the default list. So they want to get it sold. So they'll start auctions at the back taxes. Now visualize a $200,000 house with a back tax of let's say $10,000. That's where the auction might start on that. Now, I don't know where it's going to end, but if nobody shows up or it snows that day, you and I both know where it's going to. People won't show up. Someone's going to get a hell of a deal. Now, there's going to be 5,000 of those auctions every single year. 99% of the people have no idea what I'm talking about. They've never heard of it. Yeah, it's a big surprise. Yeah.
So, and the final question is like, what if they're not going to pay if the owners aren't going to pay the government in order to for their taxes, why would they pay you?
I'll tell you why. Number one, the law says if I'll buy the tax certificate, the government wants me to buy the tax certificate. Remember, all I'm buying from the government is this piece of paper. This piece of paper I'm buying from them represents their first lien on the property. They have the first lien. I just bought their lien. All right, now I own their lien, and the person doesn't pay me. If they don't pay me, the government covenants promises me I can go ahead and foreclose on the property. And if I foreclose on it, I don't have to pay anybody anything, and I'll get the property without a mortgage or a deed of trust. That's why they'll pay me. But that doesn't mean some people don't care. They just let it go to auction. Mm-hmm. They just let them, and it's happening every day. I mean, if I take you to a place like Los Angeles, you want to go down there and visit the tar pits, we'll go at that time, because they will have between 1,000 and 2,000 properties for auction in the 5th wealthiest county in the United States. I'll show you the list just to give you an example. This is the list for Los Angeles County.
Wow, that's like a huge list. How often do they have the auctions?
At least once a year. Every county is authorized to have at least one. Some of these counties will have 1, 2, or 3. Place like Texas, they have an auction first Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
Every month. You can go to Houston, there'll be 200 properties every single auction. Never fails. Mm-hmm. So nobody asked me, but I'm going to tell you. I had a guy in Georgia call me, say he wanted to learn how to do this. Funny guy. And it turns out he's a newspaper editor. And he wanted to learn how to. I said, okay. So I taught him how to do it. Then he called me back after he went through the class and got a little coaching and so on. He called me back. He said, Ted, I went to the auction yesterday. I said, you did? He said, yeah. And I said, well, was there anything for sale? He said, yeah, there was a property there. I said, well, did you buy it? He said, no. I said, well, why did you buy it? He said, I didn't believe it. I said, what do you mean you didn't believe it? He said, it was a nice little 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I'm going to show you a picture of it here. She's going to put it up. All right. Well, the picture's up. I'll tell you the rest of the story. Well, I said, why didn't you buy it? He said, they only wanted $316 for it. I said, are you kidding? He said, it was back taxes. I said, well, why didn't you buy? He said, I didn't think it was real. I said, I think you're going to go back down there today and see if they sold it. He went back down. He bought the house for $316. No kidding. All right. So he touched it up a little bit. This young guy come along and he said, look, my dad gave me enough money for rent for a whole year. Will you rent the house to me for the whole year for $5,000? Guy said, yeah, darn right I will. Nice story, right?
Awesome. Yes.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
All right. So now what everybody needs to remember is we're going to do 3 or 4 of these. And then on the 27th, I'm going to have an all-day workshop. It's an all-day workshop. If you're on the West Coast, it starts early, but if you're on the East Coast, it starts at 11 o'clock and goes to 5. It's all day, and we're going to teach you everything that you ever wanted to know about tax lien certificates and tax defaulted property. So if you liked what you heard now, we're going to give you 6 solid hours of this with 5 other of my coaches are going to come along and help me do it. So we'll see you on the next video.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening in, and make sure that you hop on to the next video coming up. Take care.